let's go, let's go.
Six Flags Over Texas in Arlington, Texas, while not as big as Magic Mountain in Valencia, California, is still a great theme park with unique attractions. It holds lots of world's firsts, and unique attractions such as the iconic Harley Quinn's Insanity. This is one of 2 ABC Tourbillon attractions in North America, but recently announced by Six Flags, the attraction is leaving the park. Now typically, it wouldn't be a big deal. The attraction had many technical issues anyway, and it's a flat ride which can get swapped out easily, just like the original Harley Quinn. But the reason why this is a big deal is because if Harley Quinn is permanently leaving forever, that leaves a giant plot of land for a brand new attraction. And with mysterious work going on in Gotham, it's possible a major new attraction is in the future for Over Texas. But before we get into my theory, if you're new here, welcome to the channel for all those thrill seekers. On JB Thrills, we cover all sorts of content related to theme parks and thrill rides, no matter where they're located. And if you happen to be a Texan enthusiast, this is your source for all Texas thrill news. So if you're interested, you should definitely stick around. Anyways, without further ado, let's get into today's video. Harley Quinn leaving Over Texas is saddening, but it's not shocking. While it is one of my favorite flat rides I've ridden, it was plagued with lots of technical difficulties and it's basically always closed. Even me myself have been stuck on the attraction a few times. So it was bound to happen. The thing is, for those who don't know, Harley Quinn's Insanity and the Joker replaced the former flashback attraction, which was a Vekoma boomerang that used to exist in that same spot. When that coaster left, it opened up a whole new area of the park, and I've even predicted more stuff being added there because there's enough room for at least one more flat ride. But with Harley Quinn leaving, that leaves even more space, enough for a pretty significantly sized attraction. Currently, the area of Harley Quinn is actually a dead zone. Even when the ride was operational, there's nothing there. But if they were to add a major attraction in the back of Gotham City, not only does it attract people to the dead zone, but hopefully we get a new attraction from the park that's not a 3-year delay. And don't get me wrong, Aquaman Powerwave is a great attraction for Over Texas. We needed a modern water ride, but now it's time to focus on an extreme thrill ride that's another signature attraction rather than a clone. Looking at the history of Over Texas' new attractions, they're all either clones or transfers. Never something ground up, and never something only unique to Over Texas. If you get all the coasters of Over Texas and eliminate them based on who's a clone or a transfer coaster, you're just left with Judgeway Scream, Shockwave, and technically New Texas Giant, even though it's just a renovation. Every other coaster in the park is either located in another Six Flags park, is a clone, or just a transfer, like Aquaman and La Vibra, both coming from parks that didn't need them anymore. So with that said, clearly Over Texas needs a change, and we need a signature coaster. But how does that relate with Harley Quinn's Insanity? Well, like I said, if the attraction is leaving, that leaves a giant plot of land, enough for a big coaster. To test out my theory, I literally went to Google Earth, measured the plot of land and compared it to other coasters, and let's just say they can make it work. Plus, if there's any area in the park that's the best place to add a new attraction, it's definitely Gotham City. And I say this because for those who don't know, half of Over Texas is in a floodplain, meaning on crazy rainy days, which can happen in any time in Texas, coasters literally submerge underwater. It's literally the reason why the newest attraction Over Texas, Pirates Spelunker Cave, is closed. The attraction got flooded and many of the animatronics got damaged again. And while the Texas section with Titan and Texas Giant has lots of space, that's why we rarely see new attractions, because it's a hassle. Meanwhile, Gotham City is next to the freeway and is nowhere near water. So like I said, if they wanted to do a new attraction, this is the place to do it. But what if I told you Over Texas knows this, and without knowing, might be already on the way to construct this new addition? When Harley Quinn was announced to close forever, a few things went down. The area where Harley Quinn was located now became fenced off. And of course it makes sense when that back area was only for that attraction. And if it's not operating, why have people there? So with that, then Six Flags announced their plans for 2023. And if you don't know them, here's a quick recap. Batman the Ride is going to get repainted, lots of attractions will get some repaints, and lots of attractions are getting fixed up, as well as new additions to the park to make it look better. Some of which are already taking place now. But out of all the updates, the one that intrigued me the most was the updates happening to Batman the Ride. Sure, it's a typical repaint, and it's desperately needed. But with that announcement, there was a small disclaimer that said some theming enhancements. Emphasis on theming. Either way, it got me excited, because to see an attraction with more theming, especially at Six Flags, is just great news. But then another thing comes along. Shortly after, half of Gotham City is fenced up, and the entire games area of Gotham City is closed off with mysterious construction going on. That did intrigue me a lot, because it wasn't said for the 2023 announcements for Over Texas. So what's going on? Is it just replacement of the games? Is it updates? Or is it something new? A lot of things coincidentally seem to be happening at the same time in the Gotham City section of the park. We have Batman the Ride's repaint with new theming, meaning the attraction will close down for some time. Mysterious construction that closed off half of Gotham and all of the game section, and then Harley Quinn announced to leave the park, which is yet another section of Gotham City that's gonna need work because something's gonna have to replace that attraction. So what's going on? Well, I'm predicting a Gotham City refurbishment. Out of all the areas in the park, Gotham City is definitely the most themed, but it's also the most outdated. It's essentially stuck in the 90s, but it's alright because all it needs is some refurbishment, and with the right care, this area can be amazing. Probably one of the best areas in the park even. Plus, based on the other updates that's going on in the park currently, they're starting to care about the aesthetic of Over Texas. And right now it looks very outdated, unfinished, and essentially just another fair, straight up. A theme park is called a theme park for a reason. It has theming, and they're charging people lots of money, more than a typical fare for that. A theme park is an experience, not just a collection of attractions. Plus, with the added fact that Over Texas has no extra experiences currently, no shows currently, and lots of rides closed down for refurbishment, something has to change. And a Gotham City refurbishment is exactly what's needed. So, how would it look like? Well, my idea for a Gotham City refurbishment is place emphasis on the characters of Gotham City, like Batman and the villains. It would be great to have more walk-around characters, and hopefully that's exactly what's going to happen. Besides the Looney Tunes characters, we can even have meets and greets with all the heroes and villains of DC Comics. Then there's the infrastructure. We need to feel more immersed in the area, and Blacktop is not going to cut it. Maybe some interactive effects for guests, or events that take place on the streets of Gotham. Events alone are not crazy expensive, and yet it makes a big impact on the entertainment for Over Texas. And as for the attractions, the more theming, the better. Joker's queue is pretty basic, as well as the Riddlers and Catwomans. If Yes Texas can have a whole immersive queue just for a gig of discovery, why can't we do it? At that point, it's not even about the money, it's just lack of creative decisions, and lack of investment, which is what Over Texas really needs to make the park better. Regardless, with all the updates going on at once in Gotham City, Over Texas might be taking a step in the right direction. But what if I told you there's still some more to this? It wouldn't be a prediction if we weren't predicting a new attraction. Back to the topic of Harley Quinn's insanity, we already established the attraction is leaving, and a giant piece of land will remain. Enough for our brand new attraction. And I know for a fact Six Flags will not leave that land empty. Something is bound to replace it, and my prediction is a brand new roller coaster, and I think Over Texas might be already preparing for it. It seems like a far-fetched, but it's very reasonable. First off, Aquaman took 3 years to be made, so technically it's not a new attraction, and in that amount of time that Aquaman was getting built, they could have well planned a brand new coaster for Over Texas. Then Six Flags also stated that they would finally focus again on new attractions after last year's big failure. And we saw this with the recent announcements of lots of brand new attractions like the kiddie coasters for Over Georgia and Fiesta Texas, as well as a brand new kiddie coaster for St. Louis. Not to mention, these announcements came out of nowhere, meaning Six Flags isn't necessarily teasing, and if they were building something, they would do it very discreetly. And it's why I'm inclined to believe that the mysterious construction in Gotham City might be a hint of a future major addition for Gotham City and Over Texas as a whole. How and why do I believe this? Well, for those who have been to Fiesta Texas, and I've ridden Batman the Ride, while it's typical as in its free spin, it does have a pretty cool queue. In the Rockville area of the park, there's a game section similar to the way that Gotham City has their own game section. But what's unique is that the line for Batman the Ride is retrofitted and themed to blend in and look like a typical prop or store in that area, even though secretly, it's the entrance to the attraction. Honestly, when I first rode Batman, I thought it was cool, and honestly, it's really smart. But then we have mysterious construction going on in Gotham City, and while nothing clearly states that it's a new attraction, there are some clues that hint towards it and open the possibility. After getting some footage of the construction, while some games are getting remodeled, some have been completely torn out and even got filled up. Yes, there's not even a crevice in the wall anymore for those games, just a white plastered wall, and it was never there before. There's one by one of the Carnival games, and another that's really obvious at the exit of Batman that used to have the Shocker game. Again, it's really interesting why they would do that. unless they were trying to make the games similar to how Fiesta Texas did it by turning those games into a queue line for a future attraction. Now I might say, well, if the queue line is there, where will it be located? In the previous location of Harley Quinn's Insanity. Behind the games area is just empty space, and beyond that empty space we have Harley Quinn's Insanity. At the moment it's just a storage area, so it wouldn't be that big of a loss. My idea is that similar to Fiesta Texas into turning one of the games into the queue line for Batman, one of the games in the Gotham City area turns into a queue line for a future attraction that will be located where Harley Quinn is standing right now. There's a great amount of space for the queue, the attraction, and even the exit for the attraction. And as for what type of attraction, it could be any coaster. I measured the plot of land and compared it to other attractions, and a single rail could literally fit there. Now of course, I don't want to clone single rail, because we don't need any more clones. But a custom single rail coaster unique to Over Texas would be perfect, and maybe even themed to the Flash. After all, it is in the Gotham City section. Or maybe even have the world's first dueling single rail coaster, themed to Two-Face, to break some records, and finally get Over Texas to stand out, as well as bring our first dueling coaster to Texas. That's not a kiddie coaster. And again, this is solely a prediction. This theory is heavily based on speculation. For all I know, the little updates to the games just might be new games, or even a repaint. Nothing too special. But it's always fun to theorize and throw ideas out there, because maybe Six Flags sees this video and actually makes it happen. Or, who knows, maybe they're already planning it. It's just a matter of time. Either way, if you want to stay updated on all news for Over Texas, as well as the construction projects for Over Texas in Gotham City, you should definitely subscribe because I will be covering this. Anyways, what do you think? Is Gotham City getting a major refurbishment with a possible new attraction to replace Harley Quinn? Or is it just repaints? Comment down below. Anyways, thank you for watching. This is JB Thrills signing out.